There is a moment in every great artist's career where the noise of the world falls away and you hear them, really hear them, for the first time. Not through a wall of stadium lights. Not through the chorus of 50,000 people singing back every word. But in a quiet room, face to face, just a voice and the truth it carries. That moment happened in May 2026, when Jungkook sat down with Rolling Stone for one of the most anticipated cover stories of the year. And what he said quietly, without drama, without a single hint of performance, changed everything ARMY thought they knew about what comes next. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel is where we go deep. Not surface level. Not just the headlines. We dig into what the words actually mean, what the timing actually tells us, and why right now, in the middle of the biggest BTS world tour in history, Jungkook is already thinking about what he does alone. Let's talk about it. To understand why this Rolling Stone interview hit so differently, you have to understand the context it landed in. May 2026. BTS is mid-tour. The ARIRANG World Tour is tearing through North America, Tampa, El Paso, Mexico City, with Stanford and Las Vegas still ahead. 50,000 fans a night. Stadiums sold out in hours. A tour so massive it required a Mexican president to personally petition the Korean government just to get 3 extra nights of shows. This is not a quiet moment for BTS. This is the loudest, most triumphant chapter they have ever written as a group. And yet, in the middle of all of it, the screaming crowds, the viral moments, the lucha libre appearances, the surprise songs, the tears and the chaos and the joy, Jungkook sat down and told Rolling Stone what he was actually thinking about. Not just about the tour. Not just about ARIRANG. About what he wants to become. On his own. Rolling Stone dedicated one of its 8 May 2026 covers to Jungkook alone. 8 covers in a single issue, one for the group, one for each member, the most ambitious publishing event Rolling Stone has attempted in years. They called BTS's comeback the biggest music event of 2026. And for the final individual cover of that package, the closing statement of the entire series, they chose Jungkook. That choice was not accidental. It was a signal. The youngest member, the Golden Magne, the one who has said the least and shown the most, closing out the most prestigious music magazine cover series in decades. Rolling Stone doesn't make that editorial decision without a reason. And the reason became clear the moment you read what he said inside. But before we get to the words, let's talk about who Jungkook is as a solo artist, because some of you watching may be more familiar with him as part of BTS, and the full weight of his solo career is genuinely staggering. In 2023, while still preparing for military service, Jungkook released Golden, his debut solo album. 11 tracks, fully in English, built around his ambition to become a global pop artist in the truest sense of that phrase. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. It sold over 2 million copies in its first week. It produced 3 songs that would each go on to surpass 1 billion streams on Spotify, 7 featuring Latto, Standing Next to You, and 3D featuring Jack Harlow. 3 billion stream songs on a single debut album. There are artists with entire decades-long careers who haven't touched that number. And the album kept going. It didn't just chart and fade. It stayed. It grew. It compounded. By 2025, Golden had become the first K-pop solo album to house 3 songs with over 1 billion Spotify streams each. By early 2026, total streams from the album had passed 6 billion. And then, on May 7, 2026, the very same week BTS opened their Mexico City shows, Big Hit Music made an official announcement. Golden had reached 7 billion streams on Spotify. 7 billion. In 904 days. The fastest studio album by an Asian artist to ever hit that number. The first and only solo album from an Asian artist to ever reach that milestone at all. Jungkook's personal Spotify account, counting streams across all his work, has surpassed 10.5 billion. That number makes him the most streamed K-pop solo artist in the history of the platform. And here is the detail that perhaps says the most about how deeply his reach has gone. In May 2026, it was reported that Jungkook's story had been included in American school textbooks. A K-pop idol. In US textbooks. Not as a footnote, not as a pop culture reference, as a study of global influence, cultural crossover, and what modern stardom looks like in the 21st century. This is the person who sat down with Rolling Stone and said, "I'm still learning." In the interview, Jungkook was asked about his solo ambitions. And what he said was not what a PR-trained artist rehearses. It was not a polished non-answer designed to generate headlines without revealing anything real. It was straightforward, almost disarmingly so. He said, "I'm also excited for the work I'll do as a solo artist. I want to learn more about dance and improve, especially in street dance." Read that again. 7 billion Spotify streams. A Billboard 200 #2 debut. 3 billion stream singles. And what is Jungkook excited about? Getting better. Learning more. Specifically, learning street dance. For some people that might sound like a humble deflection, the kind of thing a celebrity says when they want to seem relatable. But if you know Jungkook, if you followed his career from the beginning, you know that this is one of the most revealing things he could have said. Because the pursuit of mastery is not a concept he performs. It is who he is. This is the same person who, as a teenager, watched a rap performance at a Big Hit Entertainment audition and said, "I want to do that." He chose Big Hit over every other agency that wanted him, not because they were the most powerful, not because they offered the most money, but because he saw something on a stage that ignited him. That instinct, that hunger for a thing he hadn't yet fully understood, has driven every chapter of his career since. When he was in the army, serving as a cook in the military kitchen, stirring large pots 7 days a week, he told Rolling Stone what he was thinking about. Not rest. Not catching up on sleep. Not the future earnings and endorsement deals waiting for him on the other side. He said, "What I really felt was that I really want to perform. I want to sing. I can't wait to leave. I want to get out and dance. That's all I thought about. Dance." Specifically, he thought about dance. And now, in 2026, back on the biggest stage of his life, he is not satisfied with the dancer he already is. He wants more. He wants street dance. He wants the version of himself that doesn't exist yet. To understand what this means for his solo era, you have to understand what street dance actually represents in the context of Jungkook's artistic identity. Jungkook is already considered one of the best dancers in K-pop. That is not a fan claim, it is an industry consensus. He has been ranked among the top idol dancers by professionals, choreographers, and critics for years. His movement quality, his precision, his control, his ability to bring weight and intention to every 8 count is widely acknowledged. When BTS performs, there are 7 exceptional performers on stage. But when Jungkook moves, something slightly different happens. There is a commitment in his body that pulls the eye. So why does he want to learn street dance? Because street dance is something different from what he already knows. K-pop training builds a specific type of dancer, technically strong, commercially sharp, designed for synchronized group performance and fan-facing stages. Street dance comes from somewhere else entirely. It comes from the ground up. From ciphers and battles and communities. From freestyle and expression and the kind of spontaneous musicality that can't be choreographed. It comes from a place where nobody is watching you perform, they're watching you be. When Jungkook says he wants to improve in street dance, he is telling us something about the kind of solo artist he wants to become. Not just a better version of what already exists. Something new. Something rooted in a different kind of authenticity. Think about what that sounds like on a stage. Think about a Jungkook solo era built around that energy, a show that doesn't look like a K-pop production but feels like something more raw, more present, more him. He has the vocal power to anchor any room. He has the performance instinct to fill any stage. And now he is deliberately acquiring the movement language that could make his next solo chapter feel unlike anything that has come before it. There is something else in this interview that deserves more attention than it has received. In the same Rolling Stone conversation, Jungkook also said this: "I've always pursued change. I don't want to be an artist swept away by trends but one who creates them. I don't want to be confined. I want to be an artist without limits." This is not new language from Jungkook. He has said versions of this before in his Rolling Stone UK cover story from late 2025, in his Elle Korea interview from January 2026, in fragments scattered across Weverse posts and live broadcasts. But in this context, following a tour that has already broken records and sitting on streaming numbers that would define most careers as complete, the statement takes on a different weight. He is telling us he is not finished. Not with growth. Not with risk. Not with the discomfort of reaching for something he hasn't mastered. In the same period, fans will remember the Weverse Live from November 2025, a 6-hour session that drew over 11 million viewers. During that broadcast, an advertisement appeared on his screen for J-Hope's solo concert. And Jungkook, without anyone prompting him, looked at it and said quietly, "I wonder if I'll ever be able to hold a solo concert too." Not bitterness. Not accusation. Just longing, spoken out loud, the way only Jungkook can casually, honestly, like he didn't realize the weight of what he just shared with 11 million people. The internet broke within minutes. ARMY flooded every platform. The phrase, "Jungkook deserves his solo tour," trended globally. Because the desire was so clearly real, and so clearly held for a long time. In December 2025, during a group Weverse Live celebrating the members reuniting, Jungkook addressed the topic more directly. He said he had wanted a solo concert so badly. That the desire had been building. That the circumstances had always conspired, military service, the group comeback timeline, decisions at the label level, to keep that chapter from opening when he wanted it to. By May 2026, something has shifted. He is still on the group tour. The ARIRANG World Tour runs through 2027. But he is now speaking openly, in major international publications, about his solo ambitions in present tense. Not someday. Not I hope. Present tense. I'm excited for the work I'll do as a solo artist. That is a different sentence. That is a declaration. Now, let's talk about what a Jungkook solo era in the post-ARIRANG chapter might actually look like, and I want to be careful here to separate what we know from what we are speculating, because those are two different things. What we know, Jungkook has been actively building his artistic identity since his discharge from military service in June 2025. Within weeks of returning, he was back in the studio. In July 2025, he posted on Weverse about working with beatboxers, using his MIDI pad, building beats in his DAW. He trademarked his personal golden logo as an intellectual property asset in January 2025. He returned to Instagram under the handle Jungkook, a name he explained stands for "My name is Jungkook," with his first post being the golden album logo. He reactivated it. He posted. He deleted some things. He returned. These are not the actions of someone coasting. These are the actions of someone preparing. What we know, his creative vision has matured significantly. In his British GQ interview from the Golden Era, he said, "I just wanted to try diverse genres and styles and work on my own sound. As of now, that is still my goal. I want to work on different stories." In every subsequent interview, that language, diversity, range, different stories has become more specific, more intentional. The Rolling Stone UK cover story from late 2025 described him as someone whose journey from magnate to solo artist reflects a decade of absorbing, observing, and waiting for the right moment to release what had been building inside him. What we know, he contributed to the ARIRANG album in a meaningful way. The song Hooligan, one of the setlist staples of the ARIRANG World Tour, involved Jungkook in a significant creative capacity. He told Rolling Stone about the moment he heard the instrumental. "When I heard the track, I came up with the flow immediately. And I didn't know if the song would make it. But it got picked, and that rocked." That single sentence tells you something important. He is no longer just a performer executing someone else's vision. He is a creator bringing something to the table that stands on its own, that rises on its own merits, that gets selected in a competitive creative process among some of the most talented producers and songwriters in the world. What we know, Jungkook has expressed the desire for a solo concert so explicitly, so publicly, and so repeatedly that it would be extraordinary if it did not materialize. The comparison to J-Hope, who held solo shows after his discharge before the group tour began, is one ARMY have drawn many times. The parallel to other members who received dedicated solo moments within the ARIRANG era is something that has been widely discussed within the fanbase. And Jungkook himself is the one who brought it up, unprompted, on camera, to 11 million people. What we are speculating, the timeline, the format, the specific music of what comes next. We do not have official confirmation from Big Hit Music of a solo album in active development. We do not have confirmed dates for a solo tour. Anyone presenting those things as facts is going beyond what the evidence supports, and this channel is not going to do that. What we are saying, based on everything confirmed, is this: the infrastructure is in place, the creative ambition is documented, the emotional readiness is explicit, and the artist himself is pointing toward the horizon with both hands. There is one more thing Jungkook said in the context of this interview cycle that has stayed with me, and I think it's the most important thing of all. In his El Korea interview from January 2026, speaking as a Chanel ambassador and as someone preparing for what he called the most important spring, Jungkook was asked about the meaning of music in his life. And he said, "I still believe that good music is a song with a good message and good lyrics. Music that isn't bound by seasons or genres. Songs that can give strength to anyone." He was then asked about what time zone he lives in, as a global artist who exists everywhere and nowhere at once. And he said, "Since I'm someone who shows music, I think I'm living in the time of the people who watch and listen to my music. I want to stay in that time always. I want to stay in that time always." That is not a pop star talking about staying relevant. That is an artist talking about connection. About the specific and profound act of creating something that makes another person feel less alone. Jungkook has 10.5 billion streams. He has been in US textbooks. He has sold out stadiums on 4 continents. And what he wants, what he is still reaching for, is to stay in the time of the people who listen to him. That is the framework inside which his next solo era will be built. Not charts. Not comparisons. Not the pressure of following up Golden with something equally massive. He wants to make music that gives strength. Music without limits. Music that lives in the listener's time. And he wants to dance. Freely. In a way he hasn't yet fully learned. Toward a version of himself that doesn't exist yet. Let's bring this home. Jungkook is 28 years old. He has been in the public eye since he was 15. He has performed in front of more human beings than most artists will reach in an entire lifetime. He has broken records that people said couldn't be broken by a K-pop solo artist. He has watched every member of BTS receive their solo moment: Jin's Tour, Suga's August D, J-Hope's Jack in the Box, Namjoon's Indigo, Jimin's Face and Muse, Taeyeon's Layover, and he has not complained. He has supported every one of them. He performed at Jin's encore concert the moment he was discharged from service. He has been consistent, generous, and patient in a way that makes the longing he finally expressed in that Weverse Live feel all the more powerful. He is not a person who speaks about himself without meaning it. When Jungkook says he is excited, he is excited. When he says he wants to grow, he grows. When he says he wants to create the flow rather than follow it, he has already started. The ARIRANG World Tour continues through 2027. BTS has more shows, more cities, more nights to fill with the kind of performance that only 7 of them together can create. Jungkook will be on every one of those stages. Fully. Wholeheartedly. Because BTS has always come first for him, he said it himself, clearly, to Vogue, BTS is more important. But after? After the world tour that broke records before it even finished? After the album that asked the question, what is BTS in 2026, and answered it louder than anyone anticipated? There is a chapter waiting. A stage that belongs only to him. A show that will look different from anything we've seen from him before, because the person building it is different, older, sharper, hungrier in the quietest and most determined way. He told Rolling Stone he is excited. After everything he has already done, that sentence should make the whole world lean in. Army, we are not at the end of Jungkook's story. We are not even at the middle. We are watching someone who has already redefined what a K-pop solo artist can achieve, preparing to do it again on his own terms, with his own sound, in his own time. And when that chapter opens, we'll be here. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you, genuinely. It means you care about the story as much as we do. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you want to see from Jungkook's next solo era? What kind of music, what kind of stage, what kind of moment? We read everything. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time. Because things are about to get very, very interesting. See you in the next one.